Guys, I've been meaning to make this video for a long time now, well over a year. It's been in my backlog forever, and it's time I get this video out now because it's important. Probably the second most important video I've ever made. What could possibly be that important, you might ask? Here it is. This is a video that I think every Monster Hunter player should watch. It's called Why Everyone Should Play Monster Hunter by the Gamertron Show. Now you might think this is for new players only, people who've never played Monster Hunter before. You might think this video is there to convince new people to try the game. And while to a large degree that's true, this video, I think, is far more important for current players to watch and understand than it is for someone trying to decide whether or not they should play Monster Hunter. And here's why. This video is a reminder of everything that you have forgotten about Monster Hunter. All those things that you knew back when you were a new player to Monster Hunter. Those things that you thought were exciting and wonderful, but have fallen away and you've gotten out of touch with. Have you lost touch with all of the things I'm going to talk about here? Maybe. But I bet you that every Monster Hunter player that has been playing for a significant period of time, everyone who considers themselves a veteran hunter, I bet that you've forgotten about at least one of these things that I'm about to talk about today. And that I think the Gamertron Show so eloquently discusses in his video. So I recommend you go watch his video because it's definitely worth it. And I'm going to summarize my takeaway from his video, not for people considering trying Monster Hunter for the first time, but for people who are so deep into it that they might have lost touch with a little bit about why they got into it in the first place. So here we go. What do casuals know about Monster Hunter that you don't? Or maybe you've forgotten. I want to get one thing out of the way right up front. You want to jump on me for calling the Gamertron Show a casual, go right ahead and do that. But I actually asked him, okay? I asked him if he considers himself a casual, and he did indeed say yes. Now, this was over a year ago. He may not be a casual anymore. I don't know. I haven't spoken to him for some time. But I told him I was making this video, and I told him what the theme was of my video, and he's like, that's fine. You can refer to me as a casual if you want to. And I think it's important, though, right? Because he doesn't play Monster Hunter as much as you or I do. Not nearly as much as you or I. Okay. And to me, that's what a casual is. Someone who plays it on occasion, who plays it casually, who does not play it for multiple hours every day of their lives for the last decade and a half. Yeah. So there's a lot of wisdom to be had from that perspective. And just so you know, I'm not picking on you. I'm including myself in this. Because while I do often evangelize all of these points, sometimes I lose sight of what got me into the series. Sometimes I forget. And so we all need a little reminder from time to time, including myself. So point number one, the Monster Hunter series is a collection of amazing co-op games. That's right. Cooperative play, first and foremost, above all else. I would say that Monster Hunter is in the broad genre known as action-adventure games. I would say that Monster Hunter is the single best multiplayer cooperative game in existence. It was designed from the very beginning to be multiplayer cooperative. The idea of people competing against each other is what the developers were trying to get away from. What's fundamental to Monster Hunter is that there is one giant creature that is so big and powerful that it takes multiple people working together to bring it down. Now, that doesn't mean you can't solo, right? Because you can. The games are designed so that if you don't have any friends, you can still, through hard work and effort, take down even the mightiest of creatures. But the multiplayer cooperative fundamentals remain to this day. They're built upon with every new iteration of the series. You have weapons and armor skills and buffs that synergize from one player to the next. You can develop strategies with your team. You can have people specialize in certain tactics. And the thing that I think is amazing is that the game is so well balanced and so well designed that you can have people of all different skill levels join together to cooperate. No one single person is going to hold you back. Now, that's a controversial statement, right? And so that leads me into, how have the hardcore players like you and I forgotten about this? How amazing the co-op is. Well, there's a lot of ways that we've forgotten about it. Number one, a lot of us like to make everything into a competition, right? We like to see who gets the best clear times. We like to see who does the most DPS. We like to bitch at each other for not pulling their weight in the quest. That item there alone is completely anathema to the spirit of Monster Hunter, the spirit in which Monster Hunter was born and created. Telling someone they're not pulling their own weight. You're not supposed to pull your own weight, so to speak. You're supposed to do the best you can with the abilities that you have. And it's okay if one guy is not living up to your particular high standards. This idea that one person is carrying the team and that that's a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. That game was designed for that, for you to be able to carry the team. If you are that good, if you're that good and you have 3 people who aren't nearly as good as you, it's possible for you to carry them through the quest by design. We seem to forget that, right? Because a lot of us never knew it. A lot of us came into Monster Hunter and never realized that that was one of the founding principles of Monster Hunter, the ability to carry your team if necessary. So how else have we gotten away from the co-op nature of Monster Hunter? Well, we ignore the built-in competitive angle on the games, right? There's an entire part of the game called Arena. And these are special quests where the point is to do them really, really fast and to compare your times against other people. That's the competitive part of the game. Instead of playing the competitive part of the game and competing with your fellow Monster Hunter players, we make the main cooperative portion of the game into a competition, right? That's what the whole concept of speedrunning does, right? And then those ideas trickle down into the broader population, and we develop a so-called meta, like the absolute best way to play a game, the best combos to use, the best weapons to use. And now we're holding everyone to such a high standard. We're telling everyone to get good as if we're not trying, right? As if we're not trying to get better. And so this cooperative nature disappears, this spirit of cooperation where we actually share knowledge with each other. We share information, we share tactics and skills and things that we enjoy doing and things we find effective and teaching each other. We just shout at the noobs and say, get good, go read our meta guide, don't come back until you've got the right gear, get good scrub, stuff like that. That's against the spirit of Monster Hunter. And I think many of us hardcore players need to get back to our roots, where we first came in and somebody helped us along. Somebody gave us a leg up. Somebody held their hand out and lifted us up to their level. I think it's time for us to do that to the incoming freshman class and not to expect them to be as good as us. Some of us have literally 10,000 hours into this game series. And you got to understand that 99% of all Monster Hunter players will never reach that. More than 99%. Is so few people are ever going to reach that level and the skill that goes along with that much practice. And for us to expect people to engage with the game that way and to quote unquote get good by spending 10,000 hours playing the game, that's unrealistic. The game is designed for people who engage with it casually, for people who engage with it just a few hours a week, for people who engage with it to have fun and not necessarily become the best player out there. And we need to acknowledge that and live with it and deal with it and accept it and embrace it. Second takeaway from this video for me is Monster Hunter allows you to develop your own play style. There are 14 different weapon types in the game, and for each weapon type, there are 100 different actual weapons. On top of that, there are other ways to defeat the monster that don't even include those 14 weapons. So depending on what version of Monster Hunter you're playing, you have environmental hazards, you have wyvern riding. We've had bombs as far back as I can remember, traps. We have so many different types of statuses, regardless of what weapon type you're using. So there's so many ways to play the game. And for each weapon type now with World and with Rise and with the upcoming Monster Hunter Wilds, especially with Rise, you can see it. There are at least a half a dozen ways, subsets of how you can play a weapon, at least per weapon. Okay. Some have far more than that. And so with all the switch skills and all the combos and all the cool things that these weapons have to offer, you can find a set of skills and combos and strategies that you really enjoy playing. There are far too many options than a single person can learn. And I know some people have tried. There's some people on our Discord that are getting there, but even still, they're not there yet. For example, look how many different ways you can play Charge Blade. I mean, the weapon is designed to play in so many different ways. And every single one of them is what the old guard likes to call viable. The people who gatekeep play styles, they'll say, is it viable? Of course it's viable. You can defeat monsters quite handily with any of these play styles. Some might work better for you than others, and you might choose to play one where you're able to do more damage. You might choose a play style where you just really click with it and it's real easy for you to use. It may not be, as you like to say, optimal damage, right? It may not be as high DPS, but it's easy for you. You might want to play a play style that's actually challenging for you. So some people actually pick up weapons that, and I know this is crazy, right? Some people will pick up a weapon that they've struggled with in the past and that's just very hard for them to click with because they want the challenge. They want to play a weapon that forces them to try hard because it's satisfying for them. And some people like to play weapons that are just cool to look at, that are just so fun to use that it doesn't matter whether or not they're doing amazing damage. It doesn't matter whether they're really being efficient with it at all. It's just really fun to use. Like some people like Insect Glaive because they just like to bounce around and fly around the screen. Some people like Insect Glaive because they can cast fireballs at people. You can develop a playstyle with Insect Glaive that doesn't look anything like any weapon it has in the past. Some people like to role play a weapon. So they like Lance because they get this sense of this knight in shining armor, tilting at windmills or whatever. So there's a lot of different ways that people can engage with the different weapons, ways in which they have fun. Monster Hunter allows you to experiment and find a playstyle that's unique to you. So how has the old guard forgotten about this? Well, this one is pretty obvious. Once I start talking about it, you can just hear all the objections playing in your head, right? Well, that's not an efficient way to play. You shouldn't use that weapon because it sucks. Nobody uses Gunlance in speedruns, right? So Gunlance sucks. You shouldn't use that combo because we calculated the DPS on it and it's so much lower DPS. Well, you got to use Element because Element is so overpowered now in Monster Hunter Rise. Like all these things are coming to your head, right? Yeah. That's you forgetting what it was like when you first started Monster Hunter. That's you forgetting the wonder and excitement of 14 different weapon types and countless combos and switch skills and everything laid out in front of you. Whatever version you came in at, right? World, same thing. 14 different weapon types, so many different combos, so many different finishers. Granted, Rise has a lot more variety. MHGU has a lot more variety. But whatever the case may be, remember when you were trying out different weapons to see which one you really clicked with? Do you really remember that? Can you think that far back? Do you remember what that was like? Do you remember experimenting, finding your own way with the weapon? Finding what was fun for you? Think about that. Now, new people are coming in and they want to experience that same thing too, but we've gotten away from that, haven't we? We write all these meta guides and we say, yeah, go read that guide. And the new people come in and they say, what's the best moves to use? What's the best combos to use? And instead of saying, well, you know what? Experiment and do what's fun for you. Find what you like. Find what you really like to engage with. We say, I'll just use this combo. Repeat that over and over. Don't worry about any other moves. That's what we tell them, right? we take the fun away from them, the fun of experimentation, the fun of the excitement, the newness of it all. The bottom line there is every weapon's viable. Every playstyle is viable. Some people have even demonstrated that a wyvern riding exclusive playstyle is viable. No weapon usage at all. It's viable, folks. It really is. It's all viable. The question isn't, is it viable? The question is, are you enjoying what you're doing? I think that's what's most important for us to recognize. Are we even having fun? I know a lot of people who they'll optimize the fun out of the game and then they'll be just disappointed and sad. I think that's a question we all need to ask ourselves. Is what we're doing fun? And I think it's a question that we need to ask new players as well. When they ask us, what weapon should I pick? What move should I use? I think in response, we should be saying things like, well, what weapon do you find fun? What types of things do you find fun? The third big point that I took away from this video, everyone should play Monster Hunter video by the Gamertron Show. Every teammate is valuable. This kind of goes hand in hand with the idea of Monster Hunter being a co-op game. When you start playing Monster Hunter and you aren't very good at it, it's a lot more obvious that every teammate is valuable because it's going to take all of you combined to get the job done. Do you remember when you first started playing Monster Hunter and it was you and 3 other people in the quest who also just started playing the game? Do you remember how you couldn't do it by yourself? Do you remember how it took all 4 of you to beat that monster, to beat that quest, and you felt so satisfied at the end because you all came together and got it done? Every teammate is valuable. Now, how have we forgotten this? How has the old guard forgotten that every teammate's valuable? Well, we already touched on this, right? I'm carrying the team. Pull your weight. Don't come into my lobby unless you've got the right gear. Don't join my quest unless you're running a meta build, right? Every teammate's valuable. Somebody on the Discord made a great point about this. This is from Earthcube, very prolific contributor on the Discord. I'll kind of paraphrase it because it's kind of in a context of people bitching about things. It's talking about the whining. I just hate carrying noobs. People whining about having to carry noobs. All right, so what do you mean carrying? So he says, if you can solo the monster already, then anything the noobs do is free extra damage. Okay. And at worst, he says, if they're truly brain dead or literally a toddler, they are a non-entity. If they manage to be in the right area, they'll at least take some heat, giving you more openings. But those are all extreme edge cases, he says. Realistically, in all likelihood, these dudes are filling their diapers about playing with unoptimized schedules. He's talking about the people who complain about carrying, right? Are they really carrying the team? He's positing that these people who think they're out doing all this work carrying, they're filling their diapers thinking about playing with unoptimized casuals who on their own would take 25 plus minutes to solo the quest. But these unoptimized people can finish the quest, right? Which means if you put your controller down, they'd probably finish solo or 3-man, even more likely. And if everyone in a quest is capable of soloing the quest, regardless of how long it takes, then guess what? Everyone's carrying everyone else. Now, you could pick that apart and nitpick it and so forth, and it may not be as eloquent as it could be, but the point is there. Rage Burner kind of summarizes it. He says, true, if people can win without someone's assistance, then by definition, carrying doesn't factor in. That's the whole point right there. If the noob, the so-called noob, can finish this quest on their own, but they're joining you so that you guys can all do it a little faster, then you're not carrying him because he could go do it by himself. Carrying would mean you're walking people through a quest that they have no ability to beat. But even still, what's wrong with that? What's the harm in that, right? Do you think that this phrase comes up a lot when I discuss these issues? Is Monster Hunter a zero-sum game? Are you giving up something of yourself when you carry someone? Are you losing something? Are they gaining something at your expense? Well, you might say, well, time, right? My time. Okay. If your time is that valuable, why are you playing with random people on the internet, right? Why are you complaining at all? You shouldn't even be playing with them. First of all, don't send up a join request, right? I think that's where the hypocrisy comes in, okay? So you're sending up a join request as if you're asking for help, right? And then some so-called noobs come in to help you, and they're not good enough for you. You don't want them in your quest because they're not good enough to help you. That's a little hypocritical, isn't it? You're the one asking for help. So a lot of issues there, but the bottom line is we all do this, right? We all do it from time to time. I catch myself doing it too. So I'm not picking on you in particular. I'm guilty of this myself. I'll send up a join request because my hope is that I get 3 really good players to come in and we can take down this monster in like 5-6 minutes. That's my hope. That's when I send up a join request. Usually that's what I'm hoping for, but I don't always get it. I rarely get that. I don't know why I send join requests at all anymore. In fact, I haven't in a long time for that very reason. But, you'll get someone who comes in and they're just not that good at the game. But like EarthCube said, that's fine. They're going to take the heat off you so you can perform better. That's like your worst case scenario. You get targeted less so you can do more of your stuff. So your DPS can get higher than it would be if you were solo. As veteran players, we lose sight of the notion that every team member is valuable. There's some value in everyone. I recognized this a long time ago. I mentioned in a previous video, I think my 10K subs celebration video, how back in the day I would love to do speedruns with random players. I would develop the strategy and I'd assess their skills, I'd assess their abilities as a player and figure out a way for us as a team with our limitations, how we could do the quest as fast as we could. We could. Not as fast as it could theoretically be done, but as fast as we could. That is inherently recognizing the value of everyone on the team and then putting that value to work as best as I could. And that was so much fun for me. So this one's kind of personal for me. I really do recognize that, and I would love to be able to do that more often. With these join requests, people are it's just so anonymous. They're just in and out. You don't get a chance to talk to them. You don't get a chance to follow up with them. You don't get a chance to really engage with them at all. So I think the game itself in that respect is maybe contributing to that, but most of it's on us. It's on us. And I think we need to go back to the time when we did actually appreciate the people that we played with. Couple more points. Next big one, the monsters are just awesome. Think about that for a minute. When's the last time you truly appreciated how awesome a particular monster was? When's the last time you appreciated how awesome all the monsters are? We're so used to these guys now, right? Like on occasion I'll hear somebody saying, oh yeah, Magnemile is amazing, or, I love Valstrax. Okay, nobody says I love Valstrax, but I love Malzeno, I love the Siege Quest, whatever it is. But it's been a long time, hasn't it, since you've been in awe of a monster. But those first days when you're new to Monster Hunter, everything's impressive. Everything's amazing. Everything's awesome. And every 2.5 years, 3 years this time around, Capcom gives us a whole new set to be amazed at. And what do? How have we lost sight of this as vets? Well, we talk about things like, oh, they just reuse the same models, the same skeletons. They're just reskinning the same skeletons and they have the same movesets. And we just try to minimize it and downplay it all. When in reality, these guys are amazing. Every new monster is amazing. A lot of them are frustrating. A lot of them are ugly. A lot of them are annoying, but they're still amazing. Every single one of them. All their new mechanics. All their new looks, all the attention to detail put into these things. I think it's time that, myself included, we go back to how it was when we first started playing and just look, just observe them, just watch what they're doing, watch how they're engaging with the other players on the quest and feel that awesomeness and excitement that we had back in the day. Last one is a big one for me. And I think it's a big one for everyone who plays the game longer than about 100 hours. Because most people will engage with a video game for 40 to 50 hours. The publishers want us to do that. That's how they justify their game prices and so forth. They want us to engage with at least 40 hours, but they don't want to engage too long because they want us to buy their next game, right? These big publishers, you got to buy a lot of different games. So play one game for 40 to 80 hours and then buy our next game for another 70, 80 bucks so that you can play that one for 40 to 80 hours. They don't want you to engage with something that's not a live service, something that's not Fortnite. They don't want you to engage with that for very long because you're not paying them money every month. They want to get another 80 bucks out of you every month or so. But once you hit about 100 hours into a game, you've spent a lot of time with it. If the average is 40 to 80, 100 is above average. So every Monster Hunter player who's sunk over 100 hours into the game is going to start to feel this last one. And the reason I mention that is because new players don't feel this. What is this that I'm talking about? What do new players not experience? New players realize, casuals as it were, that's my shorthand for new players, people who don't play the game that much or that often, or, in total haven't played it that long. From their perspective, there is no grind. Crazy, right? But it's true, isn't it? Think back to when you were new at this. Was the word grind even in your vocabulary back then? Or did you have to play Monster Hunter for 200 to 300 hours before you realized, yeah, there's a grind? I don't remember feeling like there was a grind until I'd beaten the game. It doesn't matter what version of the game it was. I never felt like a grind until I'd beaten the game. Why? Because the game stayed engaging from beginning to end. It was the post game, the end game, the elder game that felt like a grind sometimes. But even then, even after you've beaten the game, why do you keep playing it? Do you keep playing it for the awards? No. You can go look and see what percentage of players get which awards, which trophies. Most people don't care about the trophies. Most people don't care about 100%ing a Monster Hunter game. That's so rare. The reason people grind is because they actually enjoy playing the game, right? It's not OCD. It's not like they're trying to fill out, get all the holes punched in their punch card. It's because they actually enjoy it. As veterans of the game, how have we gotten away from this? What has convinced us that the game is a grind? Now, a lot of you guys are saying, well, those anomaly quests, right? Ranking up those anomaly quests. All right, that's fair. That's very grindy, maybe a little out of control. But aside from that, even just playing the game, doing the same quests over and over, the analogy here that I think is awesome is grinding in Monster Hunter isn't really a grind. And we've forgotten this. It's not a grind. It's more like listening to your favorite music on repeat. When you're playing that one monster you really love over and over again, it's like you're just playing your favorite song over and over again. Now, we're all guilty of that, aren't we? I think the younger you are, the more likely you are to do something like that. I think as you get more experience with Monster Hunter, you're actually more likely to fight the same monster over and over again, literally just for fun. I think it's time all of us started admitting that. I've come to realize that myself recently about a few monsters, Devil Joe being my number one. And it's almost enough to get me to go back and play more World, just so I can fight Devil Joe, just so I can learn how to beat him with all the different weapons. But there it is. Things I think that we as the old guard have forgotten about Monster Hunter. There is no grind. The monsters are awesome. Every teammate's valuable. You can develop your own play style. And it's an amazing cooperative game. Now, I think if we get back to these ideas that made it so fascinating for us to begin with, that made it fascinating for me to begin with, if I get back to these ideals, I know I'm going to enjoy my time with the series far more. And in many ways, I've never really gotten away from it. But on occasion, my mind does stray and I get ideas that I'm bigger and better than I really am, that somehow I should expect more from everyone else. I don't think that's reasonable. So what I'm going to do is pledge to go back to my roots. How am I going to do that? I'm going to go fight one monster over and over again just for fun. I'm going to pick my favorite ones and do that. Oh wait, it's called Anomaly Investigations. Just do my favorite ones, and I have too. I've got Baroth up there. Have I beaten the special Baroth? I'm not sure. I'm going to go back and do some more noob helping. I've always enjoyed noob helping. Haven't you? Join random quests and show them what you can really accomplish when you put your mind to it and get good. Show them what get good really looks like. Hey, give them something to look forward to. Developing my own play style. Well, yeah, I'm always doing this. And lately I've been doing a lot of it. Been picking up new weapons. Just learned Lance recently. I've developed my own Lance play style. It's still a work in progress, but I'm getting there. Hammer, loving the hammer. So yeah, you want to start developing your own play style? Play your main weapon completely differently from how you do now. If you're a meta chaser, pick a weapon that you've never played before and don't read the meta guide. Let it develop naturally. You know what big numbers are, right? You know what a good damage number is. You should know that by now. So you can guide yourself through this. I believe in you. I believe you can really do that. Make this a cooperative experience. Really, make it a cooperative experience. One way that I think you can do that is teamwork. Get together with your team. Play in a hub. Don't send join requests. Let people come into your hub and join your quests with you and talk to them, engage with them. Tell them you're coming up with some strategies to beat monsters and you want people to work together as a team. See what happens. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. That's what I got for you on this one. Definitely check out the Gamertron Show's video, Why Everyone Should Play Monster Hunter, because he makes more points than I do on this. These are just my thoughts. He's got so much more going on in that video, so definitely worth a look. And tell him I sent you. Tell him hi for me. If you like the video, click the like button, subscribe to the channel, check out my Patreon, $1 a month, no big deal. Leave a comment. Tell me what else we might be missing as old school players, things that we might have forgotten about. How else can we go back to our roots? How else can we learn to enjoy this game the way we did when we first started? See you soon.